Hello everybody, welcome to Tactic Techniques. Important Kubernetes interview questions and answers. What is Kubernetes secret? A secret is an object that contains a small amount of sensitive data such as a password, a token, or a key. What is Helm in Kubernetes? Helm is the package manager for Kubernetes. Helm is the K8s equivalent of Yum or apt. Helm deploys charts, which you can think of as a packaged application. It is a collection of all your versioned, pre-configured application resources. Why we use config map in Kubernetes. A config map is an API object used to store non-confidential data in key value pairs. Pods can consume config maps as environment variables, command line arguments, or as configuration files in a volume. How do I delete all my eviction pods? We can use the Kublet delete pod command to delete any pod in Kubernetes. What is a StatefulSet in Kubernetes? A StatefulSet is a controller that helps you deploy and scale groups of Kubernetes pods. It represents set of pods with unique, persistent identities and stable host names. What is PVC in Kubernetes? A persistent volume claim, PVC, is a request for storage by a user. What is the reason for pod eviction? When a node in a Kubernetes cluster is running out of memory or disk, it activates a flag signaling that it is under pressure. How does HPA works in Kubernetes? The horizontal pod autoscaler automatically scales the number of pods in a replication controller, deployment, replica set or stateful set based on observed CPU utilization. Kubernetes It was originally designed by Google and is now maintained by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Explain daemon sets. A daemon set is a bunch of pods that operates just a single time on a host. They are utilized to have layer ascribes like a network or for observing a network, that you will not have to operate on a host more than once. Explain Kublet. Kublet is a CLI or command line interface which is utilized to run commands against Kubernetes groups. What is Minikube? Minikube is a type of tool that makes the Kubernetes easy to run locally. What is Ingress network? Ingress network can be described as a collection of rules that allows permission for connections into the Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes objects made up of what? Kubernetes objects are made up of pod, service, and volume. What is node affinity and pod affinity? Node affinity helps in ensuring the hosting of pods on specific nodes. On the other hand, pod affinity helps in ensuring that two pods could be co-located on a single node. Kubernetes have 4 top features. Automated scheduling. It has an advanced scheduler that can load containers on cluster nodes. Self-healing capacities, can restart, reschedule, or replace containers that are dead. Horizontal scaling and load balancing. It can scale and descale application as per requirements. Automated rollouts and rollbacks, can do automated rollbacks and rolling update. Ingress network is a set of rules which allow permission for connections into the Kubernetes cluster. Cluster IP is a service inside the cluster that enables other apps to be accessed within the cluster. Namespaces are used for dividing cluster resources between users. Network policy specifies how the same namespace's pods would communicate with each other and the network endpoint. Heapster is a metrics collection and performance monitoring system for data collected by the Kublet. A load balancer is used in Kubernetes to provide a standard way to distribute network traffic among different services, which runs in the backend. What are the different types of pods in Kubernetes? Single container pods, multi-container pods. OpenShift is a public cloud application development and hosting platform developed by Red Hat. Ingress is an object that allows access to your Kubernetes services from outside the Kubernetes cluster. Headless service is similar to normal services but doesn't have any cluster IP. It allows you to directly reach the pods without needing any proxy to reach them. What is the difference between a replica set and a replication controller? Both replica set and replication controller ensure that the given number of pod replicas are running at a given time. But the only point of difference between them is, Replica leverages set-based selectors, while the replication controller uses equity-based controllers. What are the best security measures that you can take while using Kubernetes? By restricting access to it. By having a strict policy or protocol for resources. By enabling auditing. By limiting direct access to Kubernetes nodes. By using images from the authorized repository only. By implementing network segmentation. By logging everything on the producing environment. Can we use many claims out of a persistent volume? The mapping between persistent volume and persistent volume claim is always 1-to-1. Even when you delete the claim, persistent volume still remains as we set persistent volume reclaim policy is set to retain and it will not be reused by any other claims. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my channel.